Where you hurt the most. When falling in love is against all the rules of the game. Written by Anne Brooke. Narrated by Everett Sterling. It was unusual for Max to visit the day after I'd been entertaining a client. He liked to let me rest. It was one of his rules, and I'd always been grateful for it. So that warm June afternoon, I decided to relax in this secluded garden and watch the occasional blackbird picking at the bird table. I was dozing, half dressed in boxers and a blue silk dressing gown, when someone touched my cheek, running his fingers down to my mouth. I jumped, but then caught the scent of spiced aftershave and smiled as I opened my eyes. "Nice," Max said. "Very nice indeed. How was last night?" He sat down without waiting for an answer, shaking his head when I offered him a drink. "So?" he prompted. "Very enjoyable. I thought Mr. Stenning might want to go out, take in a restaurant, but he didn't. He'd had a hard week at work and just wanted to talk and make love. He needed to relax, though, so we took a bath together. Then we had a great evening." "What time did he leave?" "Not too late, about 1:30, I think. I wasn't really looking at the time. I must have gone to bed a half an hour after that." "And your next client is scheduled for tomorrow?" I nodded. Max knew my diary as well as I did, so he was obviously leading up to something. "Yes, Mr. Robbins. He's fairly new, but he seems to like me. We get on well." Max laughed. "Hell, you get on well with everyone, Adrian. It's your fatal charm and generosity. A killer combination." I smiled. One of the many good things about Max was that he never talked about money or asked what the sex had been like. I wasn't a whore, and he never treated me like one. It was one of the reasons I stayed. "And after that, your follow-up appointment is Monday, right?" Max continued. I nodded. My weekends were always free. Max wasn't a slave driver by any means. To my surprise, he leaned forward and put his hand on my arm, his expression serious. "Would you be so good as to do me a favor?" he asked quietly. "I have an unusual potential client, and I feel his needs are best suited to your abilities. He's free on Sunday." Of course I said yes. Max was the boss, and he'd always been good to me. It was high time I paid back some of his generosity. "Any background on him?" I was ready for whatever a client might need, but there was never any harm in knowing the details Max might have picked up beforehand. Instead of answering immediately as I'd expected, he sighed and looked me straight in the eye. "Lots of background, actually. Dan is my cousin's eldest." "Great," I said with a laugh. "You'll know a fair amount, then." "Yes, I do, but I need to prepare you." His direct gaze and serious tone wiped the smile off my face. "Dan was in an accident just over a year ago. A lorry crashed into his car when he was traveling home from work, and he was badly burned in the fire." Max shut his eyes and swallowed. "He was lucky to be alive. The lorry driver died on impact. Apparently his brakes failed, and Dan just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time." "I'm sorry," I whispered, but I didn't think he was listening. When I touched his hand, he was trembling. "It changed everything," Max said, turning his hand round to hold mine. "Before the accident, Dan was like any young man, looking forward to life, with great plans to be a house and garden designer, maybe even a relationship in the offing, I couldn't quite tell. But after he was hurt, the bloke in question didn't stay around long. Not that Dan was pleasant to him. On the contrary, he seemed to want to drive him away. And it worked. Still, He gazed out into the distance. I didn't know what to say that could help, but I kept on holding his hand. He squeezed my palm and half smiled.